Hello and good day. Welcome to our video channel, God's Promises. And today's video will be a fast, concise overview, Book of 2 Kings, chapter 25. Let's get started now. The Book of 2 Kings is the second part of the historical books in the Old Testament of the Bible, which details the history of Israel's kings and their reigns. The final chapter of this book, Chapter 25, describes the fall of Jerusalem and the exile of the Israelites to Babylon. In chapter 25, the Babylonian king Nebuchadnezzar attacks Jerusalem and lays siege to the city. The siege lasts for several years, during which time the people inside the city suffer from famine and disease. Finally, the city walls are breached, and the Babylonians enter and destroy the city, including the temple of God. The Israelite king, Zedekiah, is captured by the Babylonians as he attempts to flee the city. They bring him to Nebuchadnezzar, who orders that his sons be killed before his eyes, and then his eyes are put out. Zedekiah is then taken to Babylon, where he dies in captivity. The Babylonians take many of the Israelites captive and bring them to Babylon, where they are forced to live in exile. The chapter describes how Nebuchadnezzar appoints a governor, Gedaliah, to rule over those who remain in the land. However, Gedaliah is assassinated by a group of rebels, who fear that he is collaborating with the Babylonians. After Gedaliah's death, the remaining Israelites flee to Egypt to escape the Babylonian rule. The chapter ends with an account of the Babylonian king's treatment of Jehoiakim, the previous king of Judah who had been taken into captivity before Zedekiah's reign. Jehoiakim is released from prison and given a place of honor in Babylon. The story of the fall of Jerusalem and the exile of the Israelites to Babylon is a significant event in the history of Israel. It marks the end of the Israelite monarchy and the beginning of a period of exile and captivity. The destruction of the temple of God was a devastating blow to the Israelites, who believed that it was the dwelling place of God on earth. The fall of Jerusalem and the exile of the Israelites can be seen as a consequence of their disobedience to God. Throughout the Old Testament, God warned the Israelites that if they did not follow His commands, they would suffer the consequences of their actions. The destruction of Jerusalem and the exile to Babylon can be seen as a fulfillment of these warnings. However, even in the midst of this disaster, God's faithfulness and mercy can be seen. The fact that Jehoiakim is released from prison and given a place of honor in Babylon can be seen as a sign of God's grace and compassion. God does not abandon His people even when they have turned away from Him. The story of the fall of Jerusalem and the exile to Babylon teaches us the importance of obedience to God. We are reminded that our actions have consequences, and that disobedience to God can lead to disaster. However, we are also reminded that God is faithful and merciful, and that He will never abandon us even in the midst of our trials and difficulties. The book of 2 Kings is a powerful testament to the power and faithfulness of God. Through the stories of the kings of Israel and Judah, we see how God is always at work in the world, even in the darkest times. In 2 Kings 1-25, we see how the Israelites face challenges and triumphs under the leadership of their kings. We witness the downfall of some kings who turned away from God and the rise of others who were faithful to Him. We see how God used prophets like Elisha to perform miracles and speak His word to the people. And we witness the ultimate destruction of Jerusalem and the exile of the people to Babylon. Throughout the book, we are reminded of the consequences of sin and the importance of following God's commands. The kings who turned away from God suffered defeat and destruction, while those who remained faithful were blessed with success and protection. We also see the importance of repentance and the possibility of forgiveness, as seen in King Hezekiah's prayers and the reforms of King Josiah. As we reflect on the stories of 2 Kings, we are reminded of the power of God and the importance of following His ways. We are encouraged to seek His will and to trust in His promises, even in the midst of difficult circumstances. We are reminded that God is faithful to His people, and that He will never abandon us or forsake us. Thank you for visiting us today. Please share with us your favorite Bible chapter below in the comments section. Don't forget to like and subscribe. It really does help our channel grow. Looking forward to see you back here for our next video. Always take good care.